WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host Wyman. So I'm doing a couple chill videos. This one is going to be reflections on the Fandom Menace from this year, 2025. Uh, Back around 2019, when I first created a YouTube channel and started promoting indie comic books and paying closer attention to, what kind of entertainment was spewing out of Hollywood. There seemed to be is it a groundswelling, an upswelling? Uh, Fandoms were starting to realize that we were starting to get fed more and more garbage as of late. And things started becoming DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion based. Um, there's another term for it as well, but it's more or less the same kind of stuff where they're pushing people, they're prioritizing the employment of those of different races and sexes. Basically, it was a form of sexism and racism unto itself, or of its own, because it was very anti-white or anti-Caucasian or anti-Anglo-Saxon and anti-male. So they're pushing mostly blacks and women, um, and transgendered and all these other made-up names like non-binary and LGBTQ plus minus divide multiply uh, exponent fractions, and they're prioritizing all of that over people with competency in their given fields. So no longer were things merit based, things were instead based on just because you're this or that. Like, if I identified myself as a black lesbian, then I could potentially have gotten a high ranking job in a movie studio. The problem with that is, if you, just as with any job, if you're unqualified for it, if you have no experience in it whatsoever, then there's a high probability that you're going to fail in the role. Sure, it'll be good while it lasted, but it also means you failed and you put a black eye on whatever, you know, sex or race you are, You kind of put a black eye on that whole group you're so-called representing. So this led to lower and lower quality of films. Uh, it led to poor quality toys, poor quality comics. Like in the comics industry, the I think mostly led by the big two in the mainstream comics industry, DC and Marvel. There was a huge push to make everyone gay. Superman, or a version of Superman, I think in one universe, instead of uh, Clark Kent's dad, Jonathan Kent, was a gay Superman, I think. And then when Superman had his own kids, one of them was bi and one of them was gay or trans or something like that. And then I think Nightwing became gay. Um, and I think there was a gay version of Robin. And I think Wonder Woman turned lesbian. But there was a period whereby it was like a waterfall of people turning gay in DC and Marvel. That's predominantly where I saw it. I didn't pay much attention to other houses, publishing houses like Image or Dark Horse or the like. So I'm not sure if the same thing was happening there or if they kind of skipped or avoided all that stuff. But there came a point at which the fans, were trying their best to convey to these creators, hey, we don't like the direction this is going in. This is making no sense whatsoever. It doesn't make sense to push these agendas through well-known characters. Rather than do that, you should actually create brand new characters from scratch that represent these traits that you're so desiring so badly. But that wouldn't work in the end because the whole point of an agenda is to hijack an existing IP being intellectual property, and use it for your own means and ends. So you take someone who's already popular, so you save yourself the time and money and effort and effectively uh, screw over the canon or the origin or the background or the established uh, way that people know this character from their inception, and override it with this new version of them that's suddenly gay or lesbian or trans. Um, so you can push this message. By the way, for those of you who don't know, the whole reason they were getting so big into this is because there were like venture capitalists and companies such as Vanguard and BlackRock, and government institutions that were heavily pushing this kind of agenda. They pushed that real hard, and if you help push the message, the agenda, the same message coming from mainstream media, then we're going to reward you handsomely. Venture capitalists, those companies I mentioned, even parts of the government, they'll go, we'll reward you with money to, I think, in part because they knew it was going to lead to losses eventually. You can only take this stuff so far, and then people are going to complain enough to, stop buying your garbage. And when you stop buying their garbage, then, you know, it slowly starts to hit the pocketbook of these people. Uh, but sometimes they double down on it. If they're still seeing enough money to justify pushing DEI, then they're going to continue doing so. They'll just double and triple down on the idea, regardless of how many losses they see. So the various fans, Thundercats Transformers, GI Joe. Well, I don't know about GI Joe. I haven't really seen anything bad happen to GI Joe yet. Uh, Thundercats. Uh, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Doctor Who, uh, Willow, uh, Lord of the Rings. All these fandoms were trying to tell the creators, stop this DEI crap, right? And, but they wouldn't. So that's when you saw this uprise of fan YouTubers, you know, telling them enough is enough, and they started calling Hollywood out on all this garbage. And in most cases, I don't think it went so far as to leading to uh, bans or boycotts. But when it came to some retail establishments, like the Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney incident, yeah, that definitely did get to boycott levels. Um, and that's something I'll be covering in other videos, various boycotts. And that was, in a sense, a response from fandoms as well of different types. Gillette had issues, Target had issues by pushing, trans stuff on people. Um, yeah, insane. Anyway, there came a point at which, the fans started fighting back. And it was mostly, you know, quit doing what you're doing, or else we're going to consume your product less and less. And around that time is when I think the movement started slowing down too. It went pretty strong for 2 or 3 years, maybe. But then I think at a certain point it started slowing down because it's like Hollywood's not going to change. They apparently don't care about losing money. And there comes a point at which you got to go, all right, so either we got to boycott them or we got to do something to counter their actions. So, uh, on an aside, there came Comicsgate. Comicsgate was the answer to DC and Marvel going pencils down, where during the shamdemic, or scamdemic, however you want to call it, DC and Marvel, for some reason, thought that because there were forced government imposed uh, um, I'm blanking. Government imposed things where you had to stay home, um, so as supposedly not to spread the virus, the man-made virus that the government created. Um, Quarantine, that's it. So because people are going to be quarantined, we can no longer make comic books, which was the stupidest idea ever. If anything, that would be the most ideal time. I remember thinking about this, but I never I never acted on it, which was stupid of me. But it would have been the most opportune time to do remote learning, learn a new skill, learn multiple new skills, learn a new language, get sign up for an online degree that you could do from home remotely. That's really what most people should have done instead of wasting their time, uh, not, you know. Um, Technically, people shouldn't even have acknowledged or catered to the government and uh, complied. But hindsight is 2020. Um, so anyway, Confiscate happened, and that's when I realized that model is probably the way to go. With Confiscate, you're, you know, you can only do so much to try and convince the big two, DC and Marvel, to stop making everything gay and trans because it's totally out of character for these IPs that have been around for decades to suddenly be changed at the drop of a dime. That makes no sense, right? Not at all. So what Comicsgate did was they went, okay, look, Big T aren't caring at all about the legacy properties that they effectively own and inherited. They no longer have respect for these characters. It's high time we create our own. So that's the idea of crowdfunding our own comics. And that's what is it's held to this day. That's the whole idea. Uh, create, create, produce, fulfill your own comics and graphic novels, and cut out the middleman like Diamond Publishing, and Penguin Press and all of them, and sell directly to the market. Sell directly to the consumer base, the customers, and let them decide what succeeds and what fails. And that's ultimately the direction the fandom Menace should have gone in. It slowly seems to be happening. I might do a separate video specifically discussing that or how it might or should work. But just to touch on it, you know, you can only do so much talking and bitching and whining about what they should do. The most challenging part of doing it from the Fandom Menace side is we're talking movies, TV series, animated movies. These are forms of media that are more financially taxing. So it's going to be harder to fulfill, harder to do on the average person's budget. But that's the direction I see, indie all the way, basically. But nowadays, I'm not sure. I personally feel like there's still a fandom menace. I consider myself still part of a fandom menace. I don't know if I'm the last one in it or if others still consider themselves fandom menace. There's some other group out there now that call themselves the Fellowship. I don't I lost track of when that happened, and I'm not exactly sure why it's called that now. Maybe it's a subgroup, but as far as I'm concerned, I still like the term fandom menace. I could be wrong, but I think it originated from the character Doomcock in his channel. Um, and one of the phrases he's well known for is without respect, we reject. And that still holds true. You know, if Hollywood's going to treat their viewership like crap as they have, then to hell with them. You know, good luck, Hollywood. We're going to start making our own content. We're going to make stuff that it resonates more than your pilfered AI based crap. And, you know, we'll just enjoy our own content. Or in some cases, like me, I'm a huge proponent of physical media, so I'm maintaining a DVD and Blu ray collection. The disadvantage is that it takes up so much space. I might change my view on that in the future for that reason. But right now, I don't appreciate how streaming services willy nilly will hide content from the platforms, even going so far sometimes as removing your previously purchased product without letting you know and in secret, as well as when streaming services pick out classic films and add stupid trigger warnings at the beginning, or even go so far as to physically editing scenes from classic movies. Like, one of my favorite movies is Splash with Daryl Hannah and Tom Hanks. And there's this one scene where Daryl Hannah is walking away from walking away from Tom Hanks' character to return to the ocean. And you see her long blonde hair. Uh, and originally it was her bare butt, but instead they had someone go in and CGI additional hair all over her butt, which makes it look really, really weird. And they're trying to do trigger warnings on things like Gone with the Wind. Ridiculous. These and and Disney has gone so far as to like ignore that Song of the South ever existed. What a joke. That's craziness, you know? It's like what the hell's the point in all this? What to what end are you doing this? Why? I mean, it's kind of like how was it Lucasfilm or is it? Well, I guess it's Lucasfilm, isn't it? That they wanted to like hide the Christmas special, but for many, that's like, in a sense, it's like a movie we love to hate, or a program we love to hate. It's part of Star Wars culture and it's part of Star Wars history. Why try and delete it? Why not make it available on Blu-ray and uh, DVD, you know? Same with the original OG Star Wars trilogy. Not the enhanced version. I mean, people are going so far as to pulling them off Laserdisc to get the original copy or VHS tape. So, yeah. So, in short, to recap, I do still consider myself Fandom Menace, whatever that may mean to people. In my opinion, it still means, going counter to the mainstream who insists on doubling down and pushing agenda over merit based content and, uh, putting a foot down, saying, I'm going to make it a point not to not to participate in funding your pet projects and agenda driven garbage. So, yeah, that's where I am now in 2025 with the Fandom Menace. Thanks very much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.